If you followed the headlines in early 2024, the story seemed over. Donald Trump was locked out of the traditional financial system, and his real estate empire was reportedly on the brink of total collapse. But while the public watched the courtroom drama, the Trump Organization was quietly executing a financial pivot, one that bypassed traditional banking to insulate his wealth on a global scale. The crisis started when Tier 1 institutional lenders, like Deutsche Bank, stopped doing business with him. These banks had propped up the Trump Organization for 2 decades, but after January 6th, they left behind a massive liquidity void, right as major loans were coming due. That liquidity crisis collided with a severe legal threat. New York Attorney General Letitia James brought a civil lawsuit that resulted in a $454 million penalty. The state's case focused on how Trump secured his loans. The Attorney General alleged he systematically inflated his asset values on financial statements to secure lower interest rates and better terms. Look at this blueprint comparison. Trump's penthouse in Trump Tower is actually 10,996 square feet, but for years his financial statements claimed it was 30,000 square feet, increasing its reported valuation by as much as $200 million. In Florida, Mar-a-Lago was valued on paper as if it could be developed for residential use. In reality, Trump had signed deeds restricting the property's use solely to a social club. Combine a $500 million court judgment with looming maturity dates on leveraged properties like 40 Wall Street, and the legacy domestic real estate business was under extreme pressure. With traditional Wall Street banks refusing to answer his calls, Trump turned to a different tier of capital, mid-size lenders willing to absorb higher reputational risk. A critical lifeline came from Axos Bank, an online lender based in San Diego. Just as loans on Trump Tower and his Doral Golf Resort were reaching their deadlines, Axos provided $225 million in refinancing. When he needed to post bond to appeal the fraud judgment, help came from billionaire Don Henke. His insurance company provided the $175 million bond required to pause the state's collection efforts. This new debt architecture operates outside the old system. Instead of institutional risk models, Trump is now financed by private billionaires and lenders who prioritize different criteria than traditional Wall Street banks. The crisis proved that owning heavily leveraged physical buildings in the United States carried enormous legal risk. To solve this, the Trump Organization changed how it grows. This graphic shows the asset-light strategy. Instead of borrowing hundreds of millions to build and own skyscrapers, the organization licenses the Trump name and provides management expertise. They take on zero debt and zero construction costs. In a single year, Dar Global, the international arm of a Saudi-linked firm, paid the Trump family almost $22 million in licensing fees. This revenue pipeline is visible across the Middle East, securing deals for massive developments in Jeddah, Dubai, and Muscat. And it reaches further into Asia, with a $1.5 billion project in Vietnam and 8 properties in development across India. These foreign licensing fees provide millions in cash. Because these properties are overseas, this revenue exists entirely outside the reach of the New York courts. While debt and licensing stabilized the cash flow, the Trump Media and Technology Group provided a different kind of leverage, a $2.5 billion balance sheet. However, Truth Social generates very little actual revenue. The stock valuation remains highly sensitive to Trump's political standing, making it an unstable political meme stock. To address this, the company agreed to a $6 billion merger with TAE Technologies. TAE is a hard tech infrastructure firm with 25 years of fusion energy research, backed by over $1 billion from investors like Google and Chevron. Through this merger, Trump Media is converting its volatile public equity into a stake in utility-scale energy development. In August 2025, the legal pressure point that started the crisis suddenly gave way. A New York appeals court threw out the $500 million civil fraud penalty, ruling that the punishment was excessive. The ruling effectively ended the threat of the state seizing Trump's landmark buildings. He started as a localized New York developer drowning in domestic debt. Now his portfolio is built on alternative debt, global licensing, and public tech equity. He moved from owning physical towers to drawing revenue from Muscat to Vietnam without owning the dirt. The state's attempt to seize his assets drove a mutation. The result is a portfolio more liquid, more international, and further removed from the reach of any single court. The mainstream media often misses these shifts because they don't look past the top-line numbers. To understand how power really works, you have to look at the balance sheets. Like this video, let us know in the comments which financial mystery we should investigate next, and subscribe to the Viral Scope.